Oh my gosh, that was so fast. Hello.
Hi.
All right. Hi, everyone. It looks like folks are joining in. So welcome to SAR Artists Live. My name is Felicia Garcia. I'm the Curator of Education at SAR's Indian Arts Research Center, and I'm here with our 2018 Dobkin Fellow, Jordan Craig.
Hi, Felicia. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for joining me. How are you doing?
I'm good. This is my first time live, so it's a little weird. But it's fun.
Awesome. Well, oh my gosh, I love your background. It's amazing.
Thank you. It's my one little clean corner right now. I just moved here, so it's been a little bit hectic.
So you just moved to a new place in New Mexico, correct?
Yeah, just outside Santa Fe, so kind of in the country. It's really nice. I
Amazing.
haven't even like unboxed 98% of my things. It's a
Oh,
lot.
it's so
And
stressful, especially right now. I'm sure it's a hard time to be moving.
oh, totally. And then I wanted to apologize because I have a worker here. I'm redoing my art studio right now,
Oh,
and
okay.
they're literally like drilling into the footing of the studio to add some plumbing.
Oh,
So you might hear some like loud drilling. So sorry.
no problem. Well, let's backtrack a little bit here. Would you mind by just introducing yourself just very briefly for those audience members who maybe haven't watched your artist talk or aren't as familiar with your work?
Yeah, so my name is Jordan Ann Craig. I am Northern Cheyenne, and I was born and raised in the Bay Area. I make paintings, prints, artist books, textile prints. My work right now revolves around studying Cheyenne beadwork, and I've been making these large, abstract, pattern-based paintings. And yeah, now I'm based in New Mexico, and I have a dog named Daisy behind me. And that's, yeah, kind of my life. I'm the co-founder of Shy Natives, which is a lingerie line that I'm making with my sister. And that pretty much sums up my current life. And you'll probably hear Daisy snorting and playing. So,
Oh, so sweet.
yeah.
Amazing. Well, I know you were at Roswell for the last several months. Would you mind just sharing a bit about what you worked on there and what that experience was like?
Yeah, totally. So, well, Roswell was my third fellowship in New Mexico. And it's a year-long residency, the Roswell Artists in Residence program, RARE. And so I moved there October 13th, 2019, pre-pandemic, and then worked there an entire year. So I made like, I think 18-ish paintings. I mostly did paintings, and I worked, and I had a solo show towards the end of my fellowship at the museum there. And so I got to show like, I don't even know, maybe 11, 12 of those,
Okay, wow.
including the one behind me. And yeah, it was a beautiful, beautiful year. My sister got to live with me for 6 months. And it was really rewarding to work with my sister Bailey and have her be my art assistant. And we adopted the dog together. So,
Oh,
yeah, so that was an awesome fellowship. My first fellowship, though, that brought me to Santa Fe was School for Advanced Research. So, yeah.
amazing. Okay, I'm gonna share some images of your work. I was looking at your website and it was really hard to pick some to download to my phone because I love them all. Oh no, it looks like some of the files were not compatible and this is the only one that worked.
Dang. Well, that was a recent collaboration I did with this brand called Rumple, and they really wanted to work directly with native artists as opposed to taking from native or inspired natives designs. So I worked with this outdoor blanket company, and it launched in this past fall. And so that was in my Roswell artist studio and holding one of my blanket designs.
That's amazing. What was it like to work with this company on this collaboration?
No, it was really good overall. I also got to launch my blanket with one of my good friends named Darby Raymond Overstreet, and she is another native artist based in Chimayo. So we both worked on this blanket design separately, but they all launched together. And it wasn't that different from how I make paintings because I digitally designed everything, and I do that with myself. And so instead of like translating the design to canvas or paper, it was literally vectorized and translated to a very puffy organic material.
Right.
And sewn into an outdoor blanket.
Amazing. Do you have any plans to translate this design into an actual painting?
No, you know, I've made this design, a similar design in a print before.
Okay.
And I kind of like feel like that was the piece. And then the blanket also just totally finalized that design. Yeah, I think I'm moving forward.
And so I see most of your paintings are large scale, and you have this incredible studio space that you were able to work with. Do you primarily work large scale, or was that just for this particular body of work?
I mean, I think most people at one point in their lives are like, I'm going to work massive. And given the facilities and the time and the studio I had, I was like, yeah, it's time for me to make paintings bigger than the dimensions of my car. So that was the goal, and I did that. It makes transporting paintings like a million times more complicated, but it was worth it. And I do have plans to work a little bit smaller because I think ideally these paintings look really amazing in museum spaces and, you know, white-walled rooms, but I also do really like to work really small and intimately as well. So I do have plans to work more on paper, more small-scale paintings, and also more in the artist book form.
Okay, that's exciting. Let's see. I kind of like having this photo up as a background. So I have watched like a couple of videos about your process, but I would love if you would share with the audience like what goes into a painting. What are your steps like?
Okay, well first, I'm like a pretty big nerd, and I have to do a lot of studying. And so I'm looking through collections. And when I was at SAR, I looked through your guys' incredible collections at the IARC. And most recently, I mean, it's exclusively online. And luckily, a lot of these incredible institutions have online collections and databases. So I'm looking through images of, right now, Cheyenne beadwork, and just looking through whatever attracts me visually at first. And then I could kind of explore the patterns and the designs within like a moccasin or a baby carrier. And then using Adobe Photoshop, I will create like my own variations, my own pattern, and my own scale of what I'm looking at and abstract it. Sometimes I honor the original colors. Most of the time I end up really morphing into my own personal preferences or following the story I'm trying to tell with the colors. So that is studying, and then I go into digitally designing, and then it is just like, that's the hardest part. Then it's just like the meticulous translation to the canvas, which includes a lot of paint, a lot of rulers, and a lot of just time. Yeah, so that's really fun because then it's like I have to like match the colors to what I've currently already designed. I'm really thinking about color relationships, coolness, coolness, warmness, lightness, darkness, and seeing how the colors all work together.
And just really quick, a note to our audience, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the little comment box and I'll be sure to relay them to Jordan. So you mentioned earlier that you work with your sister on some of your paintings. Do you do many collaborations with other artists?
Currently, not really, which I would really like to push outside of my own personal little rectangle and squares to do collaborations, especially like more in the digital realm, the 3D realm, the installation world. So I think those are like really exciting big steps I will be taking as I move forward with my career. But right now it's mostly like collaborations through photography and through like Shy Natives that I'm able to work with other artists and musicians and designers and dancers and whatnot. But in my own painting practice, it's been pretty lonely. No, it's just myself. And then my sister Bailey, she was able to help me, especially like these bigger paintings when I'm handling like this, all this tape. It was just so nice to have those second hands, and it made painting so much more fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So I know for Shy Natives, you do a lot of the photography. Do you also do a lot of the design work for your garments as well?
I most recently designed a pattern that is going on one of our bodysuits and our bralettes and whatnot. Textiles. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, my sister is like the magician behind the sewing machine. She's incredible. She understands the human body. Just she can plan and work things three-dimensionally that I could never, ever, ever in a million years do.
Hmm.
So visually, I'm really, really involved behind the design process, but fit, materials, sourcing materials, just even the little tiny like bra strap adjusters, she
Hmm.
knows all of that, and that's been her forte. And then of course I'll give like my, oh, that's softer than that, or I like that thickness more, or that cut
Hmm.
needs to be more rounded, and I will give my input, but I trust her and letting her handle all of the like nitty gritty designs. And then visually, you're right. I do work a lot with my 35 millimeter camera, and
Hmm.
I love to do really small scale photo shoots with different Indigenous people.
Awesome. So earlier you talked about how you rely a lot on online collections for your research. Has your practice been greatly affected by the pandemic, or do you find that you have done a lot of online work just in general pre-pandemic?
I would honestly say I was pretty quarantined and by myself right when my Roswell Fellowship started. I had already basically didn't commit myself to any shows, to any plans. I put out a lot of no's. I was like, nah, I'm just going to focus on my studio. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hits. I'm like, wow, nothing really has changed, which is really weird to say. That's totally situational though, because in my IAIA fellowship, it was so social, and I had lunches every day with students, and I
Mhm.
visited classrooms, and I love that social aspect of my practice. But most recently, I must say, it wasn't impacted greatly. I was really lucky to be in a very safe place, in a safe compound with really respectful artists around me, and also my sister got to move in with me for like a full
Mhm.
6 months. So I got really lucky because my practice is very remote and just lonely, I guess. But I've been studying online collections for years now, so that hasn't changed. And the more and more collections do go online, it's been pretty amazing because I haven't been able to go to like Cody, Wyoming or like DC or anything to go see these things in real life um, with my schedule the past few years. So the digital resources have been really helpful.
Awesome. I just realized there is a special question function on this live interview, which I had never noticed before. And so I received a question here. Apologies to anyone in the past who's used this function, and I ignored because I didn't know it was there. Let's see. Someone is asking, do you use masking/painting tapes?
Painting tape.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean that's like my one thing I feel really bad about because it's like not the most sustainable practice. But I do my best to like reuse my frog tape as much as possible. Write that down, whoever you ask that. It's the best tape on the market. It's just green, really good painter's tape you can get at any hardware store. And it is really good with making sure the little tiny leaks don't happen. Because if
Mhm.
you ever get to see my paintings online or in person, you will not see one little leak. That's like my one thing that I've kind of nailed down, and I would have to really thank the creators of frog tape for that.
Yes, if once we open up, you'll have to, or people who are watching will have to come to SAR to visit the IRC collection and see your paintings in person. And they're actually all around town. I love going to, is it La Fonda that has some of your paintings?
Uh-huh. LaFonda, picked up a majority of the paintings I made at SAR.
Okay,
So
wow.
you can find 3 of those in the ballroom, and then 1 in the spa, and 1 by the elevator, which is like the one that everyone sees. And then after my IIA fellowship, they also collected a lot of my really colorful works. So you can really see like my Pueblo inspired designs, because they're very like of the desert colors.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's basically like what you would see when you go into the collections, just like rusts and, you know, earthy tones. And then as soon as I started studying Cheyenne beadwork, it's like pink and blue and like green, and so you could see the very different approaches to design and color use in just La Fonda alone, because I think they have like 11 of my paintings.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to do some more exploring or take a docent tour once things open up again.
Yeah, one of my neighbors is a La Fonda docent, and she knew who I was.
Oh,
I was like, oh, I know her name because she's like got so many a ridiculous amount of paintings at La Fonda, and we have to talk about her.
that's
Well,
awesome.
she likes my work, so, and she's very
Oh.
nice.
Something I noticed while I was on your website earlier is that your paintings have a lot of unique names, and I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that. And I wish I'd written down some examples, but I forgot. So if you could just share some of those names and maybe talk about it a little.
Yeah, I think like titling the work is one of my favorite parts. Sometimes I title before, sometimes I title after, sometimes I title in the middle, but they're really crucial for understanding or maybe diving into the meaning of what these like often beautiful designs mean. Um, so the one behind me is titled Stop Flirting With Me. And it's like this really like mauvey pink. You can't really tell because there's like plastic sheeting to protect it right now. But it's like corally salmon, red, black. And I find red and black to be very sexy colors, the combination. And then that pink, it's like really flirty. And so my sister, Bailey, and a lot of my work is about my family. And her friends in college when anyone compliments anyone, they respond with like, oh, so I'll be like, oh, Felicia, I love your earrings. And then you'd be like, oh, stop flirting with me, Jordan. Like, even if it's just like not even flirtatious, that's the response. And it was like an inside joke, but also really playful. And so this painting is about Bailey, my sister, and just her, I mean, beautifully funny and just lighthearted personality. And like, it always makes people laugh, like, stop flirting with me. Because it is kind of flirty to say that, and then
Right.
it's not. Maybe it could even be like, stop flirting with me, like seriously. So it can mean a lot of things, but I like that title, for instance, is a favorite for me and my sister at least. And some other titles. So Rare collected Roswell. The Anderson Museum collected one of my paintings, and that one is titled "Are We Going to Kiss?" Again, another like slogan by my sister Bailey. Very similar / on the lines of stop flirting with me. And so that's another good one. Another really straightforward one is won't ever like olives ever. And that's just true. Never gonna like olives. The colors that I was looking at were so olivey that I was like, well, this is about olives, and I hate olives, but let's make a painting about it. And so yeah, I love titling. I think it's one of my favorite parts of the creative process, and it just adds a lot of, a little bit of fun to it, because painting can be so serious.
Yeah, I was really drawn to that title about olives, and I was like, what does it mean? Is it like, is there some like really long story behind the title of this painting? And
I've tried to like olives. I mean, I think it's apparently an acquired taste, but they're so dirty. And I feel like that painting was kind of dirty, and it was, I really do, that painting was basically honoring and studying the grid and looking at beadwork and how beads and quill work often have this grid. And a lot of our life is gridded out. I mean, looking at even just urban planning. That's not a very good example, but everything is like kind of structured around some sort of structure. And so that was my take at taking a really big step back and studying the grid. And a lot of artists have been interested in the grid for very good reason.
Right. Just thinking about what you had to say about the color palette for that painting. Do you always pick color palettes that are like aesthetically pleasing to you personally, or do you ever pick combinations that you're like maybe not into but think will be interesting visually once the painting is complete?
Completely the second answer. I don't think I would ever normally put mauve pink plus, and I'm like super monochromatic myself, unless I feel like being colorful. So pink, orange, black, cream. And then another painting I have, which is actually in the corner of the little photo you chose. It's like a corally salmon with like a really cool toned forest green with navy blue and light blue and like an off-white. So these are really uncomfortable colors for me personally. And when I'm playing with them online, I'm just playing with what feels right. And it's not necessarily matching like what I actually really like or what I'm trying to do. But when the piece comes together and I've selected the colors, then I end up, I have to like it somehow because I have to paint it. So yeah, it's and also sometimes I'm like really interested in how the original designer of the objects I'm looking at are putting color together or how they're playing with color. And another note, I studied psychology in college, so I've always been interested in color theory and color combinations and perception and how our eyes are perceiving different patterns and frequencies.
Your dog is so sweet in the background. Just
Daisy, come here. She's like my best friend. Daisy. Yeah, this is Daisy. She's an English Mastiff mix. I have an old English bulldog at home too, but she's a Deming, New Mexico rescue, and she hasn't ruined one of my paintings yet, so we're still good friends. But yeah, she's really a good dog.
You look sweet.
Perfect for me. Yeah, she's really nice. You'll get to meet her one day.
Aw, I hope so. Okay, so you said you made 11 paintings while you were at Roswell, and you did this blanket collaboration, which is just an insane amount of work on top of Shy Natives. How long does it take to complete like a painting on the scale that you were creating at Roswell?
It's totally dependent. So my final piece, which was called Colliding Clouds, I wish we could pull it up because it's
I know. I'm sorry.
But it's this black and white piece with a bunch of little stripes, which you would totally recognize because I made a painting similar to that, 2 paintings at SAR using the little stripes. And that painting, it was huge. It was bigger than this one. It was taller than me. I'm 5'8". It took like, oh gosh, like 3 or 4 days to make, like maybe, well, with prep, maybe a week.
Okay.
But painting that big, I mean, also it helps that I had my sister and we just loved painting it, and we had so much fun that we started each day with like some coffee, and then I went immediately into the studio because we wanted to be there. So that's, I think, and then, okay, another example is like I make these dot paintings, and I guess they're really good, just they document time really well because each row takes me a certain amount of time. And I think for a pink painting I recently did that was 45 by 45, each row took me about an hour and a half, and that one was 17 rows. So doing the math, you could kind of tell how long it would take me, but I really was not so inspired to finish that painting. And it took so much longer than what would normally be, because I like would do a row and then I would go away from it for a week, and then I'd return to it, and then I'd do 2 rows and then I'd be like, I'm done. So sometimes it just happens. Other times it takes me a little bit of motivation.
Right.
Yeah, all of the paintings I do, they're very laborious, and they do take a lot of like physical strength.
Yeah, I can't imagine painting something that size. And then actually, I feel like a week is really quick.
Oh yeah, that one with the black and white one was honestly unreal. I don't know how we did it because, I mean, the process, I mean, I left out a lot talking about that earlier because I have to stretch the canvas.
Mm-hmm.
The canvas bars need to be made, and then I have to stretch the canvas and then gesso, and I do about 4 to 8 layers of gesso, and I wet
Okay.
sand in between the layers, and then I have to do like the base coat, which was like this off-white, and I did like I think 4 to 5 layers of that, making sure it was completely smooth. So just the prep work alone before I even like make a really bold color decision or tape anything, there's a lot of prep work that goes into it. Kind of similar to at SAR when I was doing a ton of sanding on these paintings. I was like always reminding myself, this is so much easier than sanding like a three-dimensional object
Mm.
that you've like had to labor over for so long. So it was a good reminder that like this work is worth it, and it's also not that bad. It's just a little bit time consuming.
So when you go and work in your studio or go and work on a painting, do you have to be in like a certain mindset where you feel inspired, or can you just like get up every day and go to the studio and start working?
It's hard to say. I've taken like a month off, so I don't remember. um, I think it totally depends on what I'm making. Like that Colliding Clouds painting, me and mostly Bailey wanted to be in there. She's like, let's get going. We got to do it. We got to do it. And the hardest part is sometimes starting.
Mm-hmm.
And especially each painting, I find it to be like a puzzle. So it's like, where do I start first? Like when I know what it's going to look like, but what is going to be my first measurement and what is going to be my last? And I want to make each painting as simple and eloquent as possible. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to have to like retape and like make up. I want to simplify all my steps. So if I could use one piece of tape that like I could use and keep there for a while, then I will.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. So I guess to answer your question about if I go in every day and work, I mean, what's nice is if I don't feel like painting, I always have like a million things to stretch and to prep.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but the real job for me is making the designs digitally and
Mm.
figuring out their concepts and figuring out why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's the hard part. I think the brain part is always the hard part.
Right.
So, and then the art part is just like a physical act for me. And
Mm-hmm.
I do tend to have a lot of energy and I need to put it somewhere. So it's nice when I could just sit somewhere for like 5 hours and just put a million dots on the canvas and not have to think too much.
Are there any museums that just have like incredible collections that you would love to visit in person?
I would say my next museum I would be honored to visit would be the Plains Indian Museum in Cody, Wyoming.
Okay.
Um, that with their Indigenous curators who have been extremely helpful online to help me has been really amazing. I mean, they've got a great social media platform where I can see all these incredible pieces that they're uploading, and they're just doing really good work out there. And another reason I really love that one is my mom grew up going there and going to shows.
Oh.
So my mom's mom would drag her from Livingston, Montana, and they'd make the road trip and they'd go to these exhibitions because they would curate, yearly exhibitions. And my mom, I think she appreciates it now, but before she's like, go drive this many hours and then go and see a museum.
Right.
But I mean, that makes it more special to me just because my mom has that connection to that physical place.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully I can work out doing a small residency there because that was the plan pre-COVID. And hopefully I can go and study in person and then make some work for a few weeks.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Fingers crossed, maybe in a couple of years.
That was a perfect segue into my next question, which is if you could just share about any upcoming or current projects, museum shows, or gallery exhibitions.
Yeah. So let's see. Oh gosh. Well, in a year from now, next November, I'll have my first solo show in London at October Gallery, and that is scheduled far-ish in advance, but we'll see depending on COVID if I'll be able to go out there and do some painting. And I'm really excited and honored to be sharing my work over there.
Mm-hmm.
And October Gallery is including you in some art fairs coming up in America. So depending on how that gets all scheduled, I should have some works on view, which is exciting because I've never been a participant in one of those. And yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit, I'm trying not to like make too many commitments. This solo show is going to be a lot. It's a
Right.
large gallery. So I want to just focus on making, just like in Roswell, I wanted to make each painting incredibly meticulously, amazingly personal and just specific. So I want to keep making the works as specific as possible. And so yeah, I think I'm just gonna mainly be, my studio will be right over there. And once it should be done in the next week, I could start painting again for all my upcoming things. But yeah, not too much going on. I think just settling into my brand new life and making work out here, which is really an honor.
Well, that is exciting. We'll definitely be sure to like stay updated on that and share information with our viewers as it becomes available. Can you also share what the best method to stay up to date with your work and your current projects is? Is it social media, your website?
Oh gosh, I've been bad at like everything. But I would say my Instagram, Jordan and Craig, you can find it on here. And then my website is the same thing, jordanandcraig.com. One day I'll be inspired to make a newsletter. But I think overall you'll be able to at least get glimpses of what's happening. I like to share little stories of the process, so you can go see my saved sense what it looks like. And stay updated on social media and my website, and hopefully I'll be better at updating everybody.
Amazing. Well, I think that is all I had for you today. I want to be mindful of your time, and you answered so many questions, which was really great.
Awesome. Yeah, this was fun, Felicia. I wasn't nervous at all.
Oh, I know. It was really fun, and it's like nice to see you and get to catch up a little bit.
Yeah,
and meet your dog virtually. Oh yes, vintage Shy natives from 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago or 1 year ago. But yeah, I love these earrings. They're like definitely
Indian Market 2019, I think.
Yes, at the pop up with. Yeah, I think so. I think that's where they're from. But I love them. They're definitely like a great statement piece. And
I'll sign off by having you say bye to Daisy. Hopefully you can't see all the dog hair on me. But yeah, thank you so much, Felicia, and School for Advanced Research. I'm a huge fan of everything you guys do.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm a huge fan of everything you do, and it was so nice to meet your dog and hear what you've been working on. So thank you.
Awesome. Well, we'll be in touch. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Bye.